Yeah, you can't stop me. Look, it's either submit to the rules of the show or don't. Okay, just, well, I'm always waiting for these like feminine women to show me their submission, and they just never can.
So
in a recent live interview, Pearl Davis, an anti-feminist commentator, and Lila Rose, a well-known Catholic voice, clashed hard over the question of whether women have the right to tell men what to do or whether they should simply submit to their husbands and respect male authority. But the real highlight came when Pearl repeatedly tried to shut Lila down whenever she couldn't answer a question or whenever she had no real counter-arguments. Let's analyze this back and forth by first watching this clip.
Okay. So there's certain rights where you can marry, but the large majority of priests today are celibate.
Do you think that's in your position as a woman to tell men that?
I'm not telling men that, Pearl. This is the teachings of the Catholic Church. So I'm not sure what your
position as a woman to tell men that.
To tell men what, Pearl? What do you
that they should not watch porn.
So this isn't like Lila Rose's opinion. This is something that is a moral law that is beyond me, beyond you, Pearl. This is a law that comes from God himself.
Once you hear that exchange, the entire cultural backdrop starts to make sense. This is the predictable overreaction of the culture because for the past 15 years, extreme strands of modern feminism have basically shut men down from expressing any opinion on sensitive, moral, or social issues. And now, unsurprisingly, you are seeing voices like Pearl swing to the opposite extreme. Instead of correcting the imbalance, she overcorrects, insisting that women have no right to speak into men's behavior at all, even when the behavior is unhealthy or harmful, simply because men have authority over women. Silence one side long enough, and eventually someone from the other side will push back far too hard in the opposite direction. All right, let's go to the next clip.
Yeah, I think that you will lose more people than you help because no men want to be nagged by women about what they should and shouldn't do. And as I've said before, any woman that tells men what to do is a feminist because you are applying that you have authority and you are equal.
What? So now any woman who tells a man he's doing something wrong is suddenly a feminist because it assumes that men and women are equal? That has to be one of the strangest claims I've ever heard. Of course, men and women are equal. Scripture itself says both are created in the image of God and share the same dignity. And honestly, I don't even see the logic here. How does a woman offering correction automatically turn her into a feminist? Whatever that word is supposed to mean in this context. In any healthy relationship, especially marriage, both spouses should be able to correct each other out of love. That's not feminism, that's basic Christian accountability. Even St. Paul says, submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. That doesn't sound like a model where only men have authority in marriage. Moving on to the next clip.
Are you Catholic, Pearl? What's your faith? Do you have a faith?
Why not let God say it?
Pearl, do you have a faith?
If I did have a faith, I certainly wouldn't use it to build my brand online.
I'm curious if you have a faith, or if you don't want to share, that's fine. But
if I did, I would not use it to build my brand online.
But do you have one? Is my question, not whether or not you use your brand for it.
I want to go back to the question.
Are you dodging me, Pearl?
I want to go back to the question.
You can just say you're not comfortable answering.
Do you think it's in your place as a woman?
And here is where the whole facade cracks. The reason Pearl is hesitating to answer that question is because she's a Catholic and acknowledging that in this debate would put her in direct contradiction with the Catholic faith. She knows very well that the church teaches the equal dignity of men and women, mutual correction, and shared responsibility within relationships. And meanwhile, her entire online persona is built on putting women down, dismissing their voices, and promoting this idea that women have no right to correct men under any circumstances. That's not just slight mismatch, it's complete collision with Catholic teaching. And she's fully aware of it, which is exactly why she dodges the question instead of giving a straight answer. Honestly, this is why Lila was completely right to press her, because the moment Pearl is forced to line up her talking points with actual Catholic doctrine, the contradictions become too obvious to hide. Now let's move on to the clip 4.
If I have a child, and there are times when maybe you don't follow the rules as the adult, you do things wrong too. We're all human. But when I was a kid, I wasn't going to tell my mom or my dad they were doing stuff wrong because it wasn't my place. Like, imagine if I went into my dad's house and I said, Dad, you need to do this, this, and this. Why didn't you do the dishes? And he should do the dishes, or he should do that. But, it's just out of my place as a kid. And that doesn't mean I hate the kid. But, the kid, you got to know your place. Do you not see any parallels to that and women speaking to men in the way that, you are speaking and informing men.
Putting a parent-child relationship next to an adult man-woman relationship is so obviously ridiculous that it's honestly baffling she can't see it. These aren't just different dynamics, they rest on completely different foundations. First, a child is not yet fully formed. They need discipline, correction, and guidance. On the other hand, an adult man and woman, however, stand on equal moral ground and share full responsibility for their choices. Second, a parent has real unilateral authority over a child, but a husband and wife share mutual authority even if the husband holds a role of headship. Third, a child is entirely dependent emotionally, financially, and practically. A spouse is not a dependent, but a partner with their own agency, dignity, and responsibility. So yes, it would be out of place for a child to tell their parents what to do, but it's absolutely not out of place for a wife to speak into her husband's decisions and actions. Finally, as I said earlier, Pearl Davis is a perfect example of what happens when you silence one side for long enough. The pendulum doesn't return to balance, it swings violently to the opposite extreme. For years, many women have told men that they are not allowed to have opinion on moral issues, and now we have reached the absurd point where a woman is telling other women the exact same thing. As St. Thomas Aquinas famously thought, virtue is a mean between two extremes. My hope is that Catholics can help stop this pendulum from whipping back and forth between extremes and instead recover the middle ground the Church actually teaches. I hope this video was helpful. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. God bless you.